Yo, what's popping? It's Thompson. Today I am here to rate every single tank in the Overwatch League from their kickoff Clash of Summer Showdown performances. And I'm just going to jump right into it. And I feel very bad for this one, but it's got to be false again. I rated him in my as the worst rookie as well in my tier list, which I did 2 days ago. Check that out. I put a little card there. Um, but it's just like, how could you really rate him higher? Because like he's just not really been put into place to succeed with this Vancouver Titans roster so far. And whenever they have succeeded, it's been off the back of Mirror on the Doomfist or on the Junker Queen specifically, where they got all of their wins. But I don't think I think he has the potential to get out of D tier. I don't know if he's going into A tier personally. I don't know if he has that potential, but maybe he gets a good diva going, something like that. Because diva did get buffs in the league patch notes. Make sure you check those out. Maybe I should do a video on those. Not a bad show. But anyway, yeah, he has the ability maybe on the diva to go higher, but just based off what we've seen, I cannot put him any higher than D tier. He has been bottom of the barrel. Like there's been no success at all, and it's not even been like glimpses of success. A lot of the time you're like, oh, he could maybe he has a glimpse of success. He could do that, but like there's been nothing. There's been oxygen. Um, I feel bad, fellow Canadian. I want to see him succeed. We need more Canadians succeeding in Owl. We just got three right now, and False is not leading the charge. Let me tell you. But yeah, so coming up after False, it's got to be Itzel, right? Has this guy even won a map still? I don't even remember if he's actually. I think he won a map, maybe he won one, but like I don't see him getting any more playtime. I don't think he should get any more playtime, especially now that that Laurie's fired, especially that Mag's been brought in. When does Itzel realistically get any playtime at all? Probably never, I would hope, because like he just has not gotten the job done for the Boston Uprising the whole time. Didn't play the Junker Queen because they got Punk, and then they're like, oh well, Punk's not good enough. We'll bring in Mag, but then Punk was actually better. Don't tell them. Well, I guess they knew in the end because they fired Laurie. So I don't know. I don't think Itzel has a place on this team anymore, especially with Mag. But he's there. I don't know. Maybe they put him on the ball. Who knows? But their success has not been there either. And coming up for the third worst thing, I'm actually gonna be Daisy. Now this feels a little weird. It's more Daisy is more here because he hasn't really proven himself in a way. Because like he's been in a little bit and he hasn't looked like terrible, I guess, but he also hasn't really shown to be good. Like he played like one map with Junker Queen. It was tragic this stage, but like I don't know. Maybe this is a little unfair to him because it's not like he's shown to be really bad. It's just that he hasn't shown anything good. Um, his Zarya, he's came in to do that in like the first stage and it was like, he's like, okay, I guess. I don't think they really found much success by it. I don't know. It's not. It's like Daisy hasn't done enough. Maybe I shouldn't even be ranking him as a D tier, but like he's like D tier, but it's like if he shows up, maybe next stage he comes alive and Gaga's running the bench the whole time, he can shoot right up to A if he like has a really good performance. Like the data on him's not extensive, so his placement is very variable. But like you can't put him above C just based on what he's done so far. Above him is gonna be Gator. He's also not played a lot, but like the performances he's had, Hottie, we should play the Reinhardt, and then he goes the Reinhardt mirror and gets absolutely dominated in the 1v1 and hand to hand combat, hammer to hammer combat. Uh, I don't know if he ever gets any more playtime. He's here for some reason, but I think Hawk has been like obviously they've said Hawk is our tank moving forward. Getty's just kind of here. Maybe he's good in the locker room. Who knows? But not a fan of the limited play he had. Again, another player that he hasn't really been in too much, so it's hard to rank him. But I think that just based on what I saw, I feel comfortable putting him in D, and it's always fun to hate on Gator. Going up next is gonna be a recent addition. It's gonna be Cry. So Cry, he's like on the Junker Queen. You know, he was like that's all we have for him right now in Overwatch League. I'm not gonna base him off of his contenders thing, but I was like, okay. It's like I never really saw him make any big plays. Yeah, he had some good rampages every now and then, but so did literally every Junker Queen. You like a broken clock, right? Um, I don't know if he was really doing anything exceptional to help his DPS. It's very hard to rate a Paris Eternal team that looks so like terrible that like maybe he's actually been popping off, but it's like his team's so bad around him you can't tell. I'm leaning towards more he is contributing to that Paris sadness more than he is being affected by it. So I'm just gonna put him in D tier. And in the final D tier, I did raise him out of my D for the rookies, but for Kellen, I cannot raise him out of D tier for this. Like, yeah, he looks okay on the monkey. Towards the end of the midseason madness, you're like, oh, he's coming alive a little bit, and then he's on the Drunkard Queen at the start. He's like, okay, he's actually not looking too bad on the Drunkard Queen, but he never grows. I feel like Kellen hasn't really grown as a player this whole season, and that's a big concern considering he was not very well utilized or not very good at the beginning at least. I feel like he is here and he's being asked to do a bit more than is reasonable for him. With how many different tanks he's been trying to play and all that stuff, and he's not really super excelled at any of them. Like you can say, oh, his monkey's been okay, but it's like it hasn't really. There's been disconnect. The aggression's weird. I don't know. Kellen, it's a bit rough. I think he has the mechanics. He's shown he has that ability, and like there was some hype generated around him going into the season, but he's just never had it, and I don't see any signs of him turning that around. So I'm just gonna stick him right at the top of D tier. Oh fuck! Hold on. Sorry, some air went in the wrong tube. That came out unexpected. But anyway, bottom of C, gotta be Sawson to me because like his Zarya is the only thing he has. That's all he can do. He was on the Brig a little bit, so I guess I'll put him into the support one. I'll rate his Brig a little bit too. But he only has the Zarya, and the Zarya isn't like groundbreaking. Like his Zarya alone, if you're rating the Zarya, is probably a bit above average. But because like that's all it is, he's been forced to play in some situations that definitely don't benefit the Zarya, and he doesn't have that ability to swap off. So it just feels like a C tier to me. Like you can maybe argue a mid tier because of how good the Zarya is, but like the Zarya again, it's not groundbreaking. He's not like making the wheel more round in a way, or what I forget how you call it, like rediscovering the wheel or redefining it or whatever. He's not doing any of that. He's just playing some decent to all right to above average Zarya, and that's it. And that's all he has in his wheelhouse on tank at least. He also has the Brigitte in the back, which he lost that job to in the end anyway. But I don't know. That's all there is to Sass. It's like, is Zarya good? Yeah, you can maybe run him. If is Zarya not good, probably don't try to run him. But no hill's got other plans. And coming up above him, this feels a little weird, but it's actually gonna be crying. It doesn't feel weird because like. So like, clearly he hasn't had a good season. He looked awful on the Winston. The wrecking ball wasn't very good either. He just has not had a good season. The Sigma's been all right, but it hasn't even been like as good as you would expect from him. Now his Drunkard Queen, it starts off very bad. He does show improvement, which he hasn't really done too much all season, I would say. But he did show some improvement there, so I feel bad for rating him this low because like we saw that he was getting better, but not good enough. I feel like Krong. I'm not sure how much more he has to give on this team, and he's definitely the biggest concern on the charge. Um, if he's forced to play something else that he's not comfortable with, I don't have confidence that he's able to build that base of gameplay fast enough for this stage to actually like propel them out of the bottom. Because right now they're fighting for their lives with the Hunters and the Valiant to maintain a play-in spot. Because right now they have it, but Valiant, if they get 2 wins, Valiant have it right back, or 2 more wins than the Charge. So I made a video on that yesterday that you should also check out. But he's going to be a big concern. But if he's able to play a character he's comfortable with, he's able to play the Sigma a lot or any off tank a lot, you feel a bit better about him. But for this season so far, he's not been enough alone, and it has hurt his value a lot, I think. Above that is going to be Poco. Poco kind of suffers again from the playtime thing because he's only been on the Sigma. When he has been, he's pretty good. I guess you can put him above average. Like maybe this is a little unfair, but it's like how can you really rate Poco any higher based on what we've seen? You could say, oh, the Sigma's been average, but I wouldn't put it much past that. And that's all. That's it. That's his entire repertoire. He's coming on the Sigma, and that's it. And it looks okay. It's not as good as their Hottie looks. Hottie's definitely been better for this team. I like Poco a lot, but I just don't think I can put him any higher right now. And then we have Doge, who came in and played about 4 maps. Was it? Or did he play two matches? Anyway, I don't think Doge was that much worse than Dante, but definitely worse by probably a magnitude. It'll be very interesting to see if he gets any playtime or if Dante's just going to go full-fledged tank mode which I kind of think he might. He might go back on his Doomfist stuff. Who knows? But Doge wasn't like catastrophically awful, which keeps him out of D tier. But he wasn't like exceptionally there. I was like, oh my god, Doge is so good. It was like Doge is in, and that was my extent of like my excitement when I saw him playing those maps. It's like, okay, they have Doge in. He is on Junker Queen, and they didn't even like the Houston Outlaws didn't believe in him enough to even give him the map 5 against the Gladiators. So that kind of tells you right there how good Doge is. Maybe Poco should go ahead of Doge. I think that's probably reasonable. Maybe even Doge could go down here. Honestly, has Doge look? Yeah, sure. I'll put Doge down here. I'm changing things up on the fly. I wasn't planning on that, but you know what? I'll put Doge down here because he's in for a few maps and he's like Doge is in. That's my extent. Above Poco now because I moved Doge down is going to be Kalios actually. So Kalios, this whole season I felt like he hasn't really aggressed properly, and then he goes all out on the Junker Queen and becomes the most aggressive Junker Queen at all times known to man. So it's like that aggression was very misplaced at times, and it was able to give it a close series against Dallas in the tournament, but after that, not really there. Like they were able to take some maps off, and they looked a bit okay, but like his decision making, it feels like he's not confident enough to actually like be the main tank in a way, or like because like I understand, oh he's super aggressive, so he must be confident, but actually not really because like he's not. He's just always going in. He has to be confident enough to not go in as well. It's like two sides of the coin. So he's not actually making a decision. He's just doing it. He's just going aggressive. So I'd like to see a bit more control from Kalios because right now it feels like he's either like too passive on the Sigma whenever they were playing like in the mid-season madness, or way too over aggressive on the Junker Queen. I'd like a nice medium. I don't know if we'll get that from Kalios. I don't know if he goes much higher than that. I'm not sure of his potential there. But above Kalios is going to be Mag actually because he came in, he looked like the better Junker Queen. They were playing him, and then he goes over to Boston, and he just doesn't. He's just not quite there. And he had some very harsh matchups, very good teams he was playing against, but the coordination wasn't there a lot of the time. Like I remember I was watching a VOD against Dallas while I was looking in my video between Ash and Sojourn discussing the merits of each of them, which I would also check out. That's like the best one ever. I don't know where I was because I just got interrupted. But anyway, Mag, very disconnected from his team whenever I was watching it against Dallas. He was just not on the same page. And maybe it got better as it went on, but we'll never know because they just went in with Punk. I don't know. He had the mechanics. He was good on Washington, but he just never was able to quite click with the Boston roster, as maybe as much as you'd hoped, or they'd hoped either. And because of that, he has to stay C tier. Like he looked like he was trending to B tier on Washington, but did not his new surroundings did not help him. But coming in above him, it's gonna be Fury. So Fury, the tragic Fury alts have been awful for him. They have not been a good look. And the Junker Queen, he got better as he went on, similar to Krong. He did get better as he gone on. The only thing that's saving Fury from going down as much as Krong is that he did have a better first half of the season. On the Sigma, I thought Fury was better, and he's very consistent. And that's what's saving him there. But his Junker Queen was not even average. I'd say it was below average. And it's just the alts. And the actual neutral gameplay wasn't that bad from Fury. It wasn't exceptional either, but it wasn't like horrible. But you can't like Junker Queen Rampage is such an impactful ult that you can't just whiff all of them and like go off the map with them. And it just he was doing too little with them with such a key ultimate and a win condition to really justify him any higher than that. But final of C is gonna be Mirror. So Mirror to me, it's like, yeah, he looks good compared to False, but the bar is so low for him to actually succeed that I think the Junker Queen gameplay, it was average. The Doomfist gameplay, it's like it was better, but it wasn't super good either. And like I can't think of too many times when Mirror was super turning fights for Vancouver on the Junker Queen, and he was getting crazy knives or anything like that. He was just like, he was good enough. He's solid enough that he was letting Aspire get some good kills. He was supporting his backline decently, and like that's it. I don't think he was really popping off at all. He was like solid, but like C tier is like top of C tier is I call that pretty solid. I think that's solid enough. I don't know. I think he's doing alright. I can't. I'm not really gonna say much more than that. I don't know. But coming in at B tier, it's gonna be Marvel. So Marvel, I'm very surprised he was not the Junker Queen go-to from Valiant, and I'm very surprised they put Dia on it. But Marvel has been pretty damn good for the Valiant throughout this season. Whenever he has been played, there's been times where he's been swapped out for Sasson, and this whole stage he was swapped out for Dia, which I'm still not sure I agree with. Would Marvel's Junker Queen really has been that much worse? Probably not. He's a Marvel is a proven tank that can flex to many different tanks. He's played the off tank, he's played the main tank, he's done it all. I highly doubt Junker Queen is where he draws the line, and he just cannot figure out that character. I don't think that's possible. Um, I think that if their next meta, like if Junker Queen is still worth using, and but so are other tanks and swaps are necessary, they've like majorly boned themselves by not giving Marvel that extra time on the Junker Queen because now he's a full stage behind everyone else. If he needs to play the Junker Queen next stage, the Valiant are they've put themselves on the back foot at the cost of like they were trying to gain some wins with Dia, but they only get one in the end. Like I think this was a major like mess up, but I don't know. His Doomfist I thought was really good, and he's been solid. He's not like lighting the world on fire. His Doomfist could if he played it more and they utilized it a bit more. I think, but him being off the Junker Queen, I can't really. I don't know. I don't think he's A right now. I don't think there's too many weaknesses in this game, but I don't think there's like that many uh, key strengths either. And above him is going to be the guy that I put on here because he played Junker Queen a stage. I'll put Dia. So my thing with Dia is people say, "Oh my God, he's crazy at Junker Queen. His knives are sick. All that." I agree. His mechanics are top notch. Right? He's Dia. Of course they are. His knives were very good. They're not, but like everything else about it, the positioning, the synergy with his team, I felt like it wasn't quite there. Dia is very much a Junker Queen that played for himself and was trying to get to maximize his damage. Used the shout very selfishly. Use the knife. Well, I guess you can't really. There's no such thing as a bad knife stick. Like he was using the knives, and they were able to get picks sometimes, and it was very good. But like, there wasn't that much. He wasn't helping Becky or Easy Han or anyone really that much, and I felt like Dia was trying to. Like Dia was like, I'm gonna get the most value I can. Everyone else, good luck, and hopefully I do enough for you. And I feel like a lot of the good teams I recognize this, and they just target Dia down hardcore. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't help his team ever, and that was that. That's what it felt like for me watching it. And like, yes, his mechanics on the Queen were undeniable, but that's not what Junker Queen. Junker Queen couldn't really afford to play for herself unless you're Hanbin, who was doing it all. But he wasn't Hanbin. He's nowhere near Hanbin. Hanbin's that guy on those Junker Queen. So I think mid's good for Dia because Junker Queen was undeniably impactful when it was able to get going and when teams weren't able to shut him down. But whenever you saw the good teams like Shanghai and Seoul just shut him down, Valiant looked really bad, and that's why they only end up. That's not the reason. The only reason why they only end up with one win and 5 losses. But I think it was a pretty impactful one. I think Marvel would have been a smart decision, and that's that. Above him is going to be Muse. So Muse kind of takes a back seat this stage to Hoppa. Before that, they were getting some good split play time. Muse doesn't really change from his last standing. I think he's shown that he can be very good on the Winston, and I do have faith in him for that. His ball's great. He was on the Zarya a little bit in that last tournament, which I don't want to talk about that. That makes me very sad, but it wasn't actually that bad. It's like all right. Muse is definitely one of the players here that has the potential to go A, but he just hasn't been able to consistently have that enough to go there. He's been pretty mid as standard with Toronto Defiant players. Above him is going to be Mikey. So Mikey's an interesting one because it's like he was actually the starter more in that final midseason madness series against the Gladiators. He's obviously absent after there's a bunch of drama with him and all that, which I'm not going to get into here. I'm just going to talk about his gameplay. And I think his ball gameplay is like, I don't know, I think it's solid. I think Mikey's a good player to put in for ball maps like Ilios, Li Zhang, I would argue, things like that. But I don't want him in off the ball. Like, Winston is just kind of troll. It's not like false level Winston. It's not like Krong level Winston, but it's not average for sure. So he's there just as a ball specialist. It's not like his ball is super crazy. I think his ball is like solid A. I think it's reasonable to put his ball low A, high B, something like that. but he's been on too many other characters to put him off of it. To put him off of A tier, off of B tier even. Above him is going to be Space. So Space is really hard because not really hard because like he didn't get that much playtime compared to Reiner. Even at times Reiner was on the Sigma for some reasons or others because he also had some drama, back to back drama a little bit, but like Space's drama never went anywhere. Um, the Sigma's been his Sigma's solid. I don't think there's really any doubts there. I think that it is a bit weaker than Reiner whenever he plays. You can see that the Gladiators definitely struggled more on Circuit Royale, and he wasn't like going crazy on the Sigma. But his Junker Queen, the few matches he did get to play whenever they finally subbed out Reiner looked pretty good, and I'm kind of sad that Space didn't get more of a chance to shine. It's almost like they were trying to commit to Reiner so much that they thought it would work, but it just wasn't able to. And Space kind of suffers because of that, and I hope they give Space a bigger shot moving forward for the Junker Queen or other tanks like that even, because I think Space has the ability to kind of be a super flex like Reiner does. To me, I think he should have the markings of a hyperflex tank if he can actually get a chance to do it, and he's never going to do that behind Reiner. So we'll see what he does with his career moving forward. But very talented player, very smart player, as we've seen in the past. Just this season, unable to actually get the playtime he needs to become an A-level player, even on characters that he looked better than Reiner at, like the Junker Queen. Next up is going to be Fearless, unfortunately. So another player that it's like if he had the playtime, even more so with Fearless, I think he would have been higher than this. Because I know Hanbin said that like they do internal scrims, and Fearless on the Junker Queen is probably better than most players. He said Fearless is better than Kaluge on the Junker Queen kind of thing, and I don't really doubt that. Fearless is very talented. Just that unfortunate, like the main stage that he was on in the midseason madness, Dallas weren't really there as a team. They weren't as cohesive. The hive mind wasn't as ready, and it just wasn't a great look. I don't put that on Fearless, but I also don't like he's very good. It's gonna have to be B tier though. Like realistically, what has he actually done this season that you would rate him as a top tank? Nothing. Literally nothing. Yeah, his Winstons look decent. Sure, the ball's there. I mean, decent. His Winstons look good. Of course it does. It's Fearless. And the Doomfist has been solid, but like he hasn't been the Fearless that we know this season because he hasn't really had the opportunity to, in my opinion. So he's going to be B. And next up is actually going to be Void. And Void plays the Junker Queen for Shanghai, and he wins a tournament. Yet I have to have B tier. Why is that? Well, it's not. I like the Junker Queen was the weakest part of Shanghai. I think that's pretty safe to say. It's not like Shanghai was a weak team. They were above and beyond every other team in APAC. The only team that I think would hold the candles to them would be the Dallas Fuel. And it's not that Void's bad at the Junker Queen. I think he was very much good or suitable at the very least. But the performance he output, I don't know if it's enough to actually raise him because he looked really bad. He was tragically bad off of Sigma in the midseason madness. They were trying to Void out, didn't work. He just wasn't able to do it. He doesn't have the leadership capabilities that you need as a solo tank, I think. And that's like something that Coach Moon basically said too. So that's why he has to be, because like the performances that we saw off the Sigma, normally like just there, they were honestly like D tier. Like they were tragically bad. Just like the trying to position his team and stuff. The Junker Queen, he does look good. That's why I think I raised him from before. I will check that out at the end. But I'm pretty sure I raised him from his midseason madness rank. But I don't think it's enough to raise him to A tier. And yeah, his Junker Queen, it was good. Definitely an A tier Junker Queen, but unfortunately this is not a Junker Queen tier list. So likes to be void there. And now another large raise is going to be Hoppa. Now Hoppa was one of the better positionally sound Junker Queens in the league. He wasn't lighting up the world with the knives. The knives weren't there. The rampage, not that they weren't there, but they weren't super good. They weren't like a Dia. And they were one of the worst in the league statistically, I believe, or at least they were after week 2 or 3. But his positioning was very, very good in almost every match. He only got really exposed, against a shock. He was very out of position at times and went down early a lot. But outside of that one specific match that comes to mind, Hoppa's been exceptional at positioning the Junker Queen. Now, I don't think his Junker Queen was crazy. It's just that his positional gameplay with his teamwork was very good on Defiant. And the rest of his season, the Zarya, I didn't really rate his Zarya very much in the kickoff clash or the midseason madness it didn't really come out in the midseason madness. But when it did in the kickoff clash, I wasn't I wasn't too happy with it. I thought he had a lot of work that could be done, and he wasn't kind of pulling his weight even. And just my feeling that I think he could have been better on the Zarya mixed with it's probably a low A tier Junker Queen, all things considered. Yeah, the position is good, but the mechanics weren't as there, which is a bit surprising because Hop was kind of known as like, oh, he was on the Tracer back in season 1. He played Tracer sometimes and things like that. But Hop was not like a super mechanical player. He's a smart player, and that kind of holds him back a little bit. I think that's actually fair to say. Um, so I think B tier is very realistic for him, and I look forward to see if he can go into A tier or what he's going from there. Let me just move these over here so that I don't have that. Anyway, going to A tier. At the bottom of A tier is going to be Fate. So Fate doesn't play the Junker Queen at all. He's just gonna have the same rating as he did before. Basically, bottom of A tier. He was pretty good on the Doomfist. He was pretty good on the Winston, things like that. The ball, mostly the ball. It was the ball with Fate that he was on, but the ball was really good. He needs a bit more than that to actually improve. And same thing as my mid-season madness ranking. He's like, he's on the ball. He's doing his thing, but that's all. That was the only trick in his sleeve, and that kind of hurt him, and it continues to hurt him to this day. And next up is going to be Gushue. Again, another player that did not play this stage. He kind of found it out altogether in the end. He had a pretty good show. He was being more used at the end of the midseason madness, as a Winston pick. You're in on the Winston. He looked good on the Winston in the end. Yeah, he had a pretty tragic kickoff flash, but his midseason madness, he really turned it around and looked elite in some of the games he played. So that's why he's above Fate. Now, if you put Fate above him, honestly, that's reasonable. No doubt in my mind, that's reasonable. But I think Gushue's turned it around after a really rough start. And that's why he's A tier to me. Above him is going to be Punk, who continues to prove that he can do it all. They try to keep down the Australian man, but they cannot do it. The Junker Queen buff, the Australian buff on the Junker Queen was too strong. He pushes Mag out of the way. He gets his coach fired. Absolute raw Punk energy. And he once again shows to be a very solid tank. And it boggles my mind that he was on the bench. No, it doesn't boggle my mind because, Mag showed to be a very good Junker Queen in his first week of gameplay. But Punk wasn't like a weakness for this team, and he never is. Very excited to see what he does in the future. But he's not elite. He hasn't been a Hawk. He hasn't been a Reiner or Kaluge. He hasn't been anywhere up there yet. I guess those guys might not be elite depending on who you ask anyway. But he's not there yet. I think he can be there. I think you need to commit to Punk because he has that hyperflex potential, in my opinion. Yeah, the Punk Winston, the Punky, not quite there, but I'd say give him some more time next season. I could see the Punky doing wonders. No doubt in my mind. Right now, the Punky does bring him down a little bit. Whatever, that little bit he did play it. Above Punk, it's gotta be Hattie, right? It's gotta be Hattie. You gotta slot in somewhere up here. Elite Reinhardt, best Reinhardt in the league that we've seen. Now his competition isn't too big. We've only saw Reiner play the Reinhardt. We saw some Fate Reinhardt back in the kickoff flash, I think, things like that. But he's been there. His Junker Queen looked shaky at the beginning. After a week, he's all good. Pretty strong Junker Queen, and also kind of like Hoppa, more of a positional Junker Queen. But I think that the difference between those two players is more that Hottie is a bit more Chad, a bit more. Yeah, that's the big thing. It's a bit more Chad. And his elite Reinhardt gameplay does keep him in the A tier because Hoppa a bit below before the last stage, Hottie a bit above, kind of keeps him even. I think Hottie is very reasonable. I don't know about S tier. I think the Winston and the ball gameplay that we've seen from him, or mostly ball gameplay that we've seen from him, doesn't really put him there. The ball's been solid. It's been good. It's been average probably. But the Reinhardt's really what's carrying him to A. And the Junker Queen being pretty good doesn't hurt either. Above him is going to be Dante. So I'm a Dante defender a little bit. Because, you can say, oh, he only knows the Doomfist. Wow. Wait a second. Up. He has that Junker Queen on him. Hold on. He keeps that thing on him. The Junker Queen, yeah, it was okay. It was pretty good. I don't think it was, crazy. I don't think his knives were sick. I don't know. Junker Queen's kind of hard to rate because it's they're either crazy or they're you see a pretty big weakness if you don't see a lot of the thing. I think that kind of is the marking of a solid Junker Queen. Yeah, there are times where the disengage knife is good, and there are times where the Houston would just fall apart, and they were very much carried by the DPS, not Dante. But I think the Doomfist gameplay that he had in the prior two stages, combined with at least a decent Junker Queen. I'm not gonna call him like an A tier Junker Queen. Maybe I'd say like a B tier. Maybe I should do a Junker Queen tier list and see how that does. But I think keeping Dante A makes sense to me because this Doomfist was that good, and just the different styles of Doomfist gameplay he's had throughout the season tells me that he's that good on the character, and the Junker Queen being all right was good enough to keep him A tier for me. And now above Dante now though is going to be someone. So someone's had a bit of an interesting season because he's been a little wishy-washy at times because he's kind of swapped around a lot. In the midseason madness specifically, he was kind of doing too much. The Junker Queen, it was pretty good, but the biggest thing with someone, I think I touched about this in my rookie video again, is the intangibles he brings and the energy he brings to his team is, I think, a big factor on why they're able to find these reverse sweeps on London, how they're able to remain in it whenever they look like they're down and out, how they're able to 180 from, you probably look like the worst team in the tournament to actually placing top 4 kind of thing. Like, he brings that energy. And it's very hard to rate on the gameplay, but I think it's something that you have to consider whenever you see something like this. It's like Void. It's like Void, his leadership wasn't there for his team, so his team kind of fumbles around him whenever he's not on the Sigma, whenever he wasn't on the Junker Queen. Someone is that opposite energy. He's there. He is riling up his team. He's giving the team that will to succeed. Of course, there's no way to actually measure that, but that's my opinion on it, and I think that really gives him an edge over a lot of these tanks. I guess you could say Hottie probably has that energy as well, but someone you see it, and that's not nothing. There's something there. Above him is going to be Bellistria. The biggest thing about Bellistria to me is you see how like weak Fusion looked whenever he wasn't able to be in, and you had Fury playing. It's because they didn't have that extra edge, they didn't have that extra setup guy, and that extra potential pop off of their tank, because it's MN3 and Zest first and foremost with the Fusion. The backline's more of a they're trying to live, they're fighting for their lives, and then you have Bellistria, who was able to, when he was on, make some crazy plays, set up Zest and MN3 beyond, and really make Fusion a triple threat team. Bellistria, we saw them crumble. That kind of attests to me how strong Bellistria is and how well he's been utilized on that roster. So he stays A tier. Maybe he could get S tier if he pops off a bit more and a bit more consistently. But I think A tier is very reasonable. And then the final A tier of tank, I'm a little surprised at this one, but it's actually going to be Gaga. So Gaga, pretty not like it's weird that I'm putting Gaga there because it's like Chengdu hasn't even made a stage. They have 7 wins total. What's going on with Gaga? They're like choke artists. They should have a stage and they choke it away again. But I don't know. Gaga, the Junker Queen, it was good. It wasn't crazy. It was good enough. Outside of that, the ball gameplay is always going to be top notch. Gaga's definitely one of the best balls in the league, and Chengdu, whenever they were on in the midseason madness, they don't quite make the tournament, right? But I think he was a big reason they almost do. Of course, Jimmy and leave helps that, but I don't know. Gaga feels like he shouldn't be there to me, but the more I think about it, I'm like, I think that's pretty reasonable. Now, if you put him somewhere down the line of A, I could see him going as low as... I could see him going all the way down to the bottom of A, but I wouldn't put him B. Like, I could see him below Fate, in a way, like, for some people. But, I don't know. I'm going to put him there. It's a little weird, but kind of the vibe I'm getting, And now the final players, my top 6, my S tier players, it's going to be Bernard at the bottom. So the thing with Bernard, I think he was an insane player. I don't know how high I had him last time I did this, but it was quite high. It was like maybe top 3 or something like that. He has had a very good season, and it's unfortunate how bad the Spark were around him and why they would put him Gushue. I forgot Gushue played the Junker Queen. Oh, the flashbacks. Oh, that's rough. That's real rough. I might have to... Okay, no. Hold on, Gushue. Hold on. You're gone. You're gone down here. That's tragic. I could honestly put him in B tier now if I wanted to. I think I will. Just because I remember the absolute like pain that I got from watching Gushue Junker. Okay, it wasn't that bad. Let me simmer down. It wasn't that bad. It was okay. The Gushue Junker Queen wasn't that bad. Anyway, Bernard, the Junker Queen was really good. I thought he was actually a bright spot on the Spark roster that was struggling before they got Alfie, and as they continued to struggle with Alfie, I thought that Bernard Junker Queen was a bright spot. Gushue comes in and plays a week for some unknown reason, or maybe it was just a single map in a week or a match rather. I thought Bernard had a damn good Junker Queen, and it's a damn shame that the Spark could not fix anything around him. Uh, Outside of that, he had a really good midseason madness. He's very flexible. He's able to, he showed that his ball was even good. He showed that he could develop heroes that he hasn't played before at a high level. And to me, that spoke a lot about Bernard and how good he is as a tank, and kind of like a hyperflex tank. I think he fits that role, and he's gonna stay S tier for me. That might be Hangzhou Spark simping. That might be the Hangzhou bias, maybe, but I think it's reasonable to put him there. Now above him is actually gonna be Reiner, who falls from. I don't know if I had him as the best tank, but he was definitely like top 3 before, and his lack of ability to pick up the Junker Queen really shocked me. So I was like, oh, he's Reiner. Of course he can pick up the Junker Queen, but he actually can't. And so maybe this hyperflex narrative about Reiner needs to tone it down a bit. Because like I know there was already some pushback that he was a hyperflex last stage even. Because we were like, well, he hasn't actually showed anything on the off tanks. He's only been showing things on main tanks and Doomfist. And I think that's true. And now not being able to pick up the Junker Queen is a cause for concern. Is he actually able to pick up on some off tanks? If there's a meta where you need to play Diva or you need to play Sigma or Zarya even equally. Well, he did have some Zarya gameplay, I believe, at the start. But if he needs to place that equally and have an ability to swap over to like a Winston or a Ball or anything like that, can you be confident that Reiner can do it? And at this point, I'm actually not. So that is going to tone him down a little bit, especially because he went from, like the glue that holds the gladiators together to kind of like being like a Jenga castle that crumbles in a way. And that's probably my thoughts on Reiner. I think he's still very good. I think he can bounce back. And if he bounce back, he can go right back up there. But those poor performances in Junker Queen, which really shouldn't have happened, it's gonna lower him a little bit in my eye. And it's going to give Kaluge and Hawk an edge over him as far as NA tanks go. And Hanbin's there as well, but like NA as like American tanks. So Kaluge is next, and Kaluge had a pretty good Junker Queen showing. He wasn't like spectacular, but he was good enough that I think it's reasonable to put him into S tier. He's shown that he's very flexible. Like his Winston, I thought was fine. Yeah, they bring in Mikey for the ball, sure, but I thought his Winston was probably better than Mikey's anyway. And then he's one of the only players that has used Diva effectively this entire season. His Zarya was very good. Everything's great about Kaluge. The Sigma's good. The Junker Queen was good. He's more similar to Reiner in the glue thing now. He's kind of taken that role out because it's not like he is super carrying all of his fights or anything like that. He does have some moments where he's able to carry, but he is more of a glue, I think, similar to Reiner. Because when you have Proper on your team, of course he's the carry. So, but yeah, I think Kaluge kind of overstepped Reiner with this little misstep that he has. Not so much Kaluge overpassing him, but Reiner's tripping a little bit, and that puts Kaluge over him. And then we have Hawk, who's going to be next. And Hawk, I know that Atlanta had a really bad stage, but I'm defending Hawk's Junker Queen gameplay. I do not think it was on him. I think his stats were there. He was doing so much more damage than most other Junker. And maybe you could say, oh, maybe he was focusing like Dia, focusing on himself a bit too much. I don't think so. I think that Atlanta as a team kind of fumbled the bag. Just, I don't know. They just fumbled the bag. I don't think it was on Hawk as much. And maybe you could argue, well, Hawk should go below Reiner because of it, but I don't think his Junker Queen performance was the problem. Maybe you could say some leadership performance, but I think it was as a team they just kind of struggled to get a hold on this meta. And that's not going to fall on the Hawk, to me. I'm not going to blame Hawk for a coaching diff. I don't think he mispositioned too much. His rampages, yes, sometimes they weren't great, but like that's not going to erase how strong he was on literally every other match this season, where he has been there on the Sigma, on anything you want. You can put him on the Winston, and he even had decent results, right? The Doomfist, of course, one of the best. I'm going to keep Hawk there. I don't think the Junker Queen was a problem for Hawk. He's gonna be a top 3 tank to me right now. I don't even like Atlanta. I don't know. I'm going to defend Hawk there. And now the final 2 tanks. I'm going to put Smurf and then Hanbin. So I'll talk about Smurf first. Smurf is the ultimate hyperflex. You have no problems with Smurf. He can carry. His Junker Queen is damn good. and that's Smurf. You know, he best Winston in Overwatch League history, maybe, which isn't what this tier list is about, but that's just another thing that you can add to him. His Junker Queen wasn't the focal point, but it did complement them very well. I think he helped Stalker a lot to do what he wanted. He helped Prophet's aggressive style of Brig. He was always there to back him up. And I don't know. The biggest thing about Smurf is he's there. You never have to worry when you have Smurf behind you or in front of you or wherever the hell he wants to be. Smurf is always that guy. He's always ready. He's there. And I think he's one of the best Junker Queens, probably. One of the best tanks in this league. But next, it's got to be Hanbin. Okay, hear me out why Hanbin's the best. Yeah, he sat out a stage. Whatever. The 2 stages he was in, he was elite. He was the best at his character 2 out of 3 stages. Let that sink in. The best Zarya bar none. The best Junker Queen bar none. Literally, if he in next stage he is able to play as he did these 2 stages, he is legitimately an MVP talks again. I'm not. He's there now. Even I would argue. He shows a level of gameplay on his characters that no other tank has shown this season. You could say Smurf can show that on the Winston. You could say that maybe Hawk can show that on the Doomfist, but no. Hawk has similar people to him on the Doomfist. Reiner's close, Dante's close, Toulouse is close, even Bernard is close, right? Hanbin has no one near him in terms of Junker Queen and Zarya skill that he has displayed. The raw gaming potential, and not even potential, it's there. We see it. It is tangible how good he is, how much he carries fights. He is the biggest carry Junker Queen, but he also is so good at setting up Sparkle for success, making sure Edison's living, everything about Hanbin. He is the whole package on the Junker Queen, on the Zarya. There is nothing better than Hanbin. Hanbin is peak gameplay on those 2 characters. And you know what? He's supposed to have a nasty Doomfist too. We haven't seen it as much. His Sigma's also very good. There's nothing there. There's no doubts in Hanbin. I think if Fearless wasn't on this roster, Hanbin could play the Winston very fine. No doubt in my mind there, personally. But anyway, I digress. So, let me know your thoughts on this video. Of course, as always, all that. Like this video if you like it, subscribe for more daily Overwatch content. The tank and the DPS and the support ones and the MVP will be coming in the future very shortly. Anyway, yes. Deuces.